And I'm talking about Lee Bogner, who is joining us. Hello, Lee. Lee comes today directly from New York, and it's a real pleasure to have you with us, Lee. Brief words on Lee here. He's an e-commerce pioneer and innovator since 1996. He's currently the global e-commerce enterprise architect and digital venture innovation strategist at Mars, and is a professor of e-commerce at Hofstra University. Here, Lee leads many global digital innovation initiatives in emerging and established markets across Mars businesses: pet care, confectionery, food, and life sciences. Lee's background includes CIO at an acquired $100 million e-retailer, tours with J&J, Accenture, IBM, and taking 4 digital startups to exit in analytics, social media, online video, and e-commerce solutions. So Lee, thank you so much for taking time to share your expertise with our global audience today.
Thank you, Jose. Can you hear me?
You sound great.
Okay, wonderful. So thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you to Proqis. Thank you, Jose and the team, Kanchan and everybody. And most of all, thank you, the audience, for participating and your participation in this event. So Jose, I'm going to show my screen now. And I'm going to, I think, take my camera off would be
no,
best.
Keep your camera on, Lee, and the screen
Okay.
is already sharing, looks good. And go ahead and please keep your camera on as you go through it.
Okay, so can I hide this because it's blocking the camera?
Are you able to see your slides and forward them and move them forward?
No, because my face is taking up most of the screen.
Okay, so if you want to go ahead, toggle your camera off momentarily.
Yeah, just for now.
Okay.
Okay, wonderful. Awesome. Can you guys see everything?
Yep, looks
awesome.
Good.
So thank you again, that wonderful and kind introduction. You know, I wanted to joke with you guys and say, hey, why don't we go around the room and introduce everybody? I know that's not possible, but please believe me when I say I'd love to hear your thoughts. Please participate with questions. I'd love to have, you know, one-on-one or group sessions with you in the future. But I guess that's what LinkedIn is for. So let's stay in touch. As Jose mentioned, I focus on e-commerce and enterprise architecture innovation. Today, I want to talk about an EA framework for creating value using digital ventures innovations. Okay, so let's get going. Bear with me while okay, here we go. A little bit of my bio, but I think that was already covered. Let's move forward. So if any of you are not familiar with Mars, you see our iconic brands down at the bottom: Pet Care, Pedigree on the bottom left, Royal Canin. Of course, our candies, of which you're probably familiar with, M&M's, Snickers, Twix, Dove bars. We're also big into pet care and pet health through hospitals, veterinary hospitals such as Banfield and VCA. We're 125,000 associates strong globally, privately held, family-run business since 1911, 6th generation. It's amazing that it's you know, most companies don't go that far from a family-run business, as you all know. So we're in over 450 sites, and as I mentioned, we're upwards of 2,500 veterinary hospitals across the globe. So one of our themes is the world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today at Mars, and I'm sure you can all relate to that. So what are we here today? Really to learn about the enterprise architecture innovation framework. Enterprise architecture, which most of you know, is really about traditional IT governance, but also it's about the balance of embracing the dynamically changing worlds and ecosystems of digital innovations with new skills, new technologies, missions, and methods that further allow our business to grow into both emerging and mature markets. And that's a big distinction. Different skills, different ideas, different business models are required for different markets. And the level of maturity, emerging versus established, plays an impact. Emerging tends to have less infrastructure, more frontier, and these aspects have to be built. Mature markets are more established, but they could be saddled with legacy capabilities and even legacy culture, whereas emerging markets tend to be more digitally and mobile first environments. So let's go into that in a bit more detail. So concisely, our mission at Mars is to enable efficiency across all of our enterprise systems to drive speed literally at 100x or faster, just to keep up with the competition and to seize value with our projects, our solutions, our business models. So in a nutshell, it's number one, simplify, number two, transform, and number three, innovate. And these are graphics on the right of various projects that we've done along the way. Up at the top, we rationalize systems. One of the things that we did over the last 3 years was take outdated Lotus Notes, over 8,000 implementations across the world, and really reduce that to zero and move on to more modern technologies. We have a core technology transformation roadmap where big enterprise projects such as SAP HANA rollouts and Salesforce migrations and CRMs are handled. So we want to do that in a simplified way where we don't have too many systems and we leverage and share, reuse, and scale. On the transform side, we're constantly reviewing every project that comes in across Mars. Last year, we did upwards of 450 reviews. This year, we're on track to do over 1,000. And we go through a regular process on that, and I'll touch on that a little bit. And then on the innovation side, I'm going to spend most of my time. Things like hackathons, bringing first of its kind game-changing applications such as our Halloween treat down during COVID, and also during COVID, our vet telemedicine and digital care. We have a prize-winning senior enterprise architecture team led by our chief architect and VP, Praveen Maturo. Awards up on the top. The top half of our org chart is senior architects, 20 or more years across the board. So a solid team. And they run across a variety of operations on the left. Business segment, information and data architects, security architects, application and integration architects, technology and infrastructure architects. And I get involved in all 5 of those, but mostly spend my time as a digital and application solution architect. So what is Mars EA approach to innovation? Our mission is to deliver at digital pace and global scale. You recall I mentioned 100x speed. That's been our mantra for the last few years. So how do we focus? We focus on the left and we implement our 3 points through a business segment. So that's pet versus MWC, confection versus food versus life science edge. And we have transformation roadmaps, innovation and test and learns, but that's where we look at the current state, map that to a future state strategy, and then as we validate, move into a roadmap around that. And we do that for each of these groups. The architecture reviews, which I touched on, 450 going to 1,000 this year across the various segments of architects and domains, and then map them against the roadmaps on the left-hand side. So we do assessments and monthly sprints. Sometimes once or twice a month, we do rapid 4-hour sessions. Typically, there are 2 1-hour sessions each week. Next, we move to the right, to the third column, and we look at every new technology that's introduced to us. We understand its value, we understand its cost, we understand if there's duplication on all of the aspects in our portfolio on the left, which I've shown, and really look and take a hard look. We don't want to slow down new technology introduction, but we want to make sure it's the right value and right for scale and reuse. And then the core technology transformation on the prior slide, where we do the rationalizations and risks assessments. We really drive millions and millions of dollars of cost savings, which also helps us fund our digital innovations. So it's a very good framework for EA to focus our resources. So what does it mean for Mars to be digital first and consumer obsessed? That's where we're focused. So digital first really requires businesses, especially 100-plus-year-old companies like Mars, to take a fundamental shift in the way we think about systems. No longer the one-size-fits-all on the left, but looking at a digital-first approach that maximizes speed, agility, and innovation, and fit for purpose of the business model and the business need. What is the consumer experience? What are the application capabilities that are needed? What is the data and analytics that we can use to drive our decision to go into this business, but then also when we're in a new business or we're transforming legacy businesses, how are we operationalized and getting the best value and growth? And then, of course, the infrastructure, security infrastructure, hosting infrastructure, and we'll talk a little bit about that. These are some of the digital first approach capabilities that are becoming more and more prevalent. We've introduced in a variety of businesses microservices technologies, both in our pet care business and in our confection business. This allows us to also utilize headless technologies. So in my area of e-commerce, where we have models such as direct-to-consumer, which are new for brands, as well as our traditional e-business where we sell to our customers, our retailers who stock our products on their shelves, the Walmarts, the Targets, the Ocados, and the e-retailers, even the marketplaces like Flipkart or Shopee or Amazon Marketplace. All of these are served through microservices, as well as the ability to have headless capabilities for our own direct-to-consumer, be it mobile or web, and have personalized, tailored experiences. The API first rule is so crucial. The ability to build out APIs, use out-of-the-box APIs, build out our own RESTful APIs, and then share them within the brands within our business, within Pedigree, sharing with Whiskas, with Royal Canin, and then sharing those across our businesses. So to Mars Wrigley for Snickers brand or Twizzlers, Twix, and all of those brands. Next, we are now at the point, after the past few years of core technology transformations, that we're cloud native. All of our applications start with cloud first. If it has to be on-prem, it goes through heavy assessment. Very few systems go that way. The majority are either within the cloud environments that Mars runs, Azure, AWS, and GCP, Google Cloud Platform. This allows us more and more ability to share applications, share infrastructure, share security and trust. We also work very closely with external SaaS providers and make sure that their cloud environments are safe and secure for our branded businesses to run on. This is a particularly important for emerging markets. Data analytics, advanced analytics, the use of data lakes, and having multiple data lakes across our regions, Asia Pac, US, Middle East, Southeast Asia, Latin America. The ability to bring and share data not only on our internal operations to make our businesses more efficient and effective, but also to work closely with our D2C scenarios to get data into a CDP or a consumer data platform, work with our retail customers to get that data in, to be closer to the consumer experience and understand that better as we work either directly to consumers or B2B through our retail partners. So we're serving in a mutuality perspective. Next is automation, a very big aspect. We're taking AI technologies, machine learning technologies, and really focused on more projects that take the human routine element out of the equation. So in a typical scenario where customer service agents are doing routine things like booking appointments or asking, what products are you looking for? We automate that more, especially into voice bot as well as text chat bots to streamline the activity and also handle activity that's happening in certain markets during the off hours where they may not be serving their customers or their consumers 24/7. And then everything depends on cybersecurity and our trusted networks and environments. As you can imagine, if your brand takes a hit, then your whole business will take a hit. So we're fully on top of consent management, firewall technologies, PII and PCI certifications across all aspects. Just a quick example of digital first capabilities. And I kind of touched on that on the last one. So consumer obsessed, we focus on the top left. The consumer journey is where we begin to start to look at what experiences do we need to drive both our pet and our confection and our food and our life science customers. That's at the heart and center of this. You'll see in our frameworks, we also deliver content, community, commerce, and connectability. These are all components that utilize a variety of digital technologies listed here. More on that to come. So what are others doing in this space? There's very many that are still over in the left in the traditional demand, but more and more, especially startups and pure plays, over on the right. Where does Mars play? Well, in quite a number, we're over on the right-hand side. And also, we have legacy environments over on the left-hand side. Very few at the far left, but left of center. And again, as we talked about, composable microservices and microservices frameworks are key to getting us 100x into the direction of meeting the demand of digital first for our consumers. A quick example of the traditional approach, probably most of you are familiar with. The ERP is at the center, and there's various functionalities that come out of your ERP vendor, be it SAP or Microsoft. But a digital first approach, we're experimenting more and more with light ERPs for quick time to market environments for a variety of finance of the future, direct to consumer, even bidding and auction platforms for variable pricing, and really driving the implementation of new business models and new ERPs in those new and emerging business models with lightweight ERPs that can get up and running in weeks. So how do we foundation this? We start with a reference architecture that starts with the business goals and strategies first, then we jump to the consumer journey and experience, as I just mentioned. Take a close look at number 3, the business capabilities that are needed to provide that experience. And then number 4, what are the technology capabilities that we need to also drive that experience? And then number 5, we map that against the aforementioned transformation target architectures and roadmaps, and then build out more and more experience maps, number 6, and solution scenario strategies that we can use and reuse in the future. So a quick look at the TRM, or the technology reference models. It covers everything from user interface, next generation, emerging technologies at the top, number 1, number 2, the heart of applications, the key digital applications, and then supported by infrastructure and hosting and cloud on the left, security and lifecycle management over on the right. This is where we map, and we use a lot of these to reference models, especially to map certain projects. So if we look at a portfolio of digital ventures, we'll focus on systems of innovation in the center, content management on the middle left, analytics on the middle left, chatbots on the far right, and we'll call them out. And again, when we do those assessments, we make sure that we're comprehensive and taking advantage of tools that are needed. Next, I want you to see how the reference model is the foundation, and the principles of digital first on the right on the bottom are also the foundation, and they roll up into the various components. In this model, digital sales and marketing technology platforms, where we focus on content marketing, commerce, and data products. Okay, now, digital ventures innovations. Let's get into it. So how do we take a look at ventures and how do they come in? The first thing we do is journey map the customer experience. And how do we do that? We do that with the EA team and this strong group of strategists, myself, Praveen, our VP, and 3 or 4 other digital architects that are also strategists that have come from running big B2B and e-retail businesses. And we also have the foundational domain architects. So as we look at this, we work very closely with the business segments that are looking to break into new markets. We also work with in 2 areas through one group called our user centricity group. Here we do design thinking, and we really map out who's the user, who's the consumer, what are they trying to do, how can we do it with existing technologies, or how can we do it with new technologies, and how can we reuse, especially in the emerging markets, something that was done last year in our emerging markets rollouts. Number 1, digital immersion and strategy. We also do hackathons and summits. These started in early 2020, right before the pandemic, and these were this was a 2-day event. We've since streamlined it to either a 1-day or a half a day, and they've been very, very effective. And these are global participants, so follow the sun type participation. And within these summits and hackathons, we've been able to iterate anywhere from 10 to 20 projects based on a business segment, and I'll show you, and launch these projects in weeks. So once we have the ideas, we build out a pipeline, we prioritize them, and we have continuous sprints as we take them into test and learn and proof of concept. And then once we realize and push them out into the market, we optimize and measure. So we're always calculating value, so the business sponsors and our top LT leadership teams are convinced that this is worth it. Obviously, if something falls apart, we try to get rid of it quickly and move on. So again, we frame the problem on the left, we explore and make sense of the opportunities and prioritize them. We create and learn, do the test and learn, and those that make it through this funnel go on to pilot and then production. We use something to help us focus on 100x. We call it the Mars Digital Engine. This high-level approach allows us to focus. Again, find is design thinking. Solve is what is the problem that we can use? Can we leverage data, AI, and next generation technology? Can we deliver by using agile, quick-to-market approaches? Can we automate and free up time and resources? These are all factors that are looked into in our innovation strategies. As we look again, we've added to our simplify, transform, innovate. We also look to disrupt where it is necessary and it makes sense. We have a very strong focus on customers, consumers, and stakeholders in creating value. We focus on the priorities and the goals of the business, and we utilize digital skills at scale. So that means hiring, partnerships, collaboration, a long-time technology partners, as well as emerging venture partners and startup technologies. Here's how we pitch it to the business sponsors. We put all the facts and the trends and the insights and what have we heard from our customers to really understand the problem and quantify and qualify the what, why, where, when, and how. The journey map with pain points and opportunities. We focus on how might we's, the art of the possible, and then we look at features and rollout approach, either through Mars teams or through partners working together. And these are all underlined by technology platforms, which I referred to earlier on. This is an interesting framework we're doing using more and more nowadays when we go into the beginning discussion with a business that wants to get into especially emerging market innovation. Understanding, that key components in addition to the consumer and customer journey are important. So what is the content that's required? For that experience? How is that experience? How does it become a community? How do we connect it with ecosystems that can drive even further and expand our business? And then where are the commerce opportunities? Connecting marketplaces, connecting B2B, D2C. And how do we do that? A variety of new emerging capabilities are becoming more and more prevalent. In certain markets on the bottom left, social commerce is the way to go. These are in mobile first markets. These are where age-specific markets are more apt to do social shopping as well as share information. Immersive experiences on the left. Where can we take new technologies and tie them together with flagship stores such as New York City, Berlin, Las Vegas, and have an experience that's highly digitized in terms of sharing videos and even doing projects such as digital art projects or dance-offs and the like, leveraging the TikTok and Facebook videos of the world. Also in our food business, doing more and more with online video in terms of baking and chefs, like a food network. We have acquisitions that in those areas where we're leveraging recipes and ingredients, showing people how to cook and to bake with our products, and then building that out over to the commerce side and connecting it through shopping lists with retailers and the like. Other key components, subscription has been around for quite a while in our pet care business, but it's also becoming bigger and bigger in our food, in our confection markets with specialty gift items, connecting with marketplaces, especially in markets where the consumers are less apt to go to a direct-to-consumer to a brand, but are very, very comfortable with the major players. I'm talking non-Amazon players, non-Walmart marketplace players in emerging markets in Latin America, Southeast Asia, India, and Europe. And with that, these emerging markets, understanding locally, how do we get the delivery of either marketplace or D2C, and working with not just the Uber Eats of the world or the Instacarts of the world or DoorDash, but working with Swiggly and others in India that really know how to dive into markets where, frankly, in the rural markets, there's no street address, using GPS technology. Go down the road, make a right at the blue house, go down 2 more houses with the big fence that's on the left. That's literally the address with the GPS. Interesting times in these frontier markets. And then, of course, loyalty. I've saved that for last because at Mars, we have a lot of legacy one-off loyalty scenarios. We need to take advantage of that and tie that together and turn it into an American Airlines or Hyatt Hotel type direction, if possible, in certain markets. This is a quick example of applying content, commerce, and community to a variety of ecosystems. We could take user-generated content and social media, drive personalized information on the left, engage with customers and last mile delivery, as I mentioned, in marketplaces on the commerce side, and then really, get involved in communities and expand it for sustainability, which Mars is a big proponent of, working with traceability and farm production, as well as philanthropy, and then also gamification, similar to what we did with our Tree Town Halloween app during COVID, that allowed Halloween to continue last October. So let me give a few examples of digital first in our approach. We start with a funnel. We drop down. The big message here is at the bottom of the funnel, we take it out fat again. So we're looking at the consumers making the purchase and the retention, as well as the expansion. Quick example, applying a flow the old way. You got search, social, websites, D2C, and then last mile delivery. And then applying, where are the opportunities that are missed on the prior slides? Where's the gamification, subscription, user recipes that could be used? And where are the last mile commerce deliveries on the right that could be used? And then taking this into an infinite loop approach to an ecosystem for communities, content, and commerce. This is a snapshot of the approach in the food area. I'll go through this one a little quickly. These are some projects that came out of our digital ventures. So what does success look like? Actually, the hackathons, I'll go through these quickly. We did the India Summit beginning of 2020. 8 projects went live. We did one in China during 2020. We also did a follow-up in pet nutrition. And then we did the Berlin store. I kind of touched on that in the immersive experience. Okay, what does success look like? This is what we call lovingly the beast. This is 47 projects, and there's such amazing innovations. We put 2 S's on the top of the slide. It covers a variety of our businesses. Does it look like it's heavy in pet care? Yes. Why is that? Well, frankly, our pet care is our most innovative thinking business, and it's our biggest business, and it's our highest revenue business. So you'll see a variety of where we kicked off in early 2020, but then we rolled this in, and these are actively underway now in Southeast Asia. A number of these projects we rolled into from pet into markets in Mars Wrigley. So B2D2C in India for pet is now working in Mars Wrigley. So we're doing cross segment, which is a great change for scalability and reuse. And then now we're focused, especially on these European based, but these are going to turn global into things like pet adoption, vet to vet, veterinarian to veterinarian, and AI chatbots and recommendation engines and more. Here's what it looks like on an infographic. It's quite impressive. This is it, guys. You might see a caterpillar on the left think of it as us in the emerging markets. You don't know what's coming up over on the right. You're in the dark, but you'll begin to grow slowly and take advantage. And over time, you might blossom in the third column, you know, to be a bit of a you know, opportunity, and then you become a butterfly at the end. So again, as I started, the world we want tomorrow starts with how we do business today. Thank you all.
Wow, Lee, what a fantastic coverage of the journey and transformation at Mars. We really appreciate the strategy, the execution, just fantastic coverage. I'm gonna ask you to stop showing your presentation screen to the audience now momentarily, and bring back your camera so that we can see you and that we can. I'm back on as well. So we can field some of these questions here. So I want to just set the landscape a little, set the background a little bit further here, Lee. I mean, you have shown some tremendous capabilities here and the development that I am sure took some time to develop. From a timeline perspective, when did this all started? And you can say they probably started in 1911, but you know, if you look more, if you look
question
today,
I was saying. Yeah, I was thinking about that as I was talking. I didn't really cover that. So I joined Mars 5 years ago tomorrow. So I'm really excited about that. When I joined, this was not available. We had a very small enterprise architecture team consisting of 2 enterprise architects. I was in a group called, that was in 2016, called Digital Demand. Praveen joined the team in 2018. And by the end of early 2019, he had assembled a group of about 15 of us, including stealing me and another friend of mine from the other architecture group. So we really started to put this in place in early 2019 with a bit of foundational work in, let's say, summer, fall of 18. But the team was solid and has grown since, starting 2019. So by 2020, we kicked into those hackathons a year later, which started the innovation trail. So we did it quite quickly, and we're across global, and you know, and then we have an extended team. So we have about 17 of us at the core, and then we have an extended team of another 15, 20, and those include remote enterprise architects and our security architects brethren, which is about 8 to 10. So quickly, we put it together, but even more quickly, we put all of these initiatives together. And I must give a call out to my partner who's on this call, Steve Sadeko, who's Global Program Manager, and he's really a godsend because he helps us organize, structure, communicate, and you know, he helps me with so many things. He really helps us get the job done. So we have the right people. We are very lean, but we have the right people. And thank you, Steve.
That is fantastic. And Steve, hello there, Steve. And Steve is on the call with us right now. Steve, wonderful to have you with us as well.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Yeah.
And then Lee, the question and one of the things that has emerged has to do with how do you teach a no dog some new tricks? I mean, this is a 100-year-old company, 125,000 associates around the world, more than 80 countries. I mean, it's overwhelming just to think about it. How do you get a semblance of a standard approach around the world? How did you get this to work?
So it really starts at the top. When I talk the top, all the way up to the family and the president's office, which is senior executives that run Mars. And as I mentioned, there are family members that are part of that office. And it also starts with Praveen being a very good communicator, not just a down in the weeds architect like myself or Steve. We're also communicators, and we help sell this story. Now, what I saw happen the first 2 years I was here through 2017 was digital wasn't really taking a hold because of the old dog was front and center. We did a flip in 2018 when we brought in a chief digital officer to replace our 25-year CIO. Good friend of ours, went on to P&G, wonderful guy. But chief digital officer, so that was a signal to me that Mars is taking this seriously. Then I got brought into this team. And when you think about it, the president's office began to talk about at the very top that we need to be a digital first company. It has to come all the way down. Now you can imagine 125,000 people, still going to take a while, not always going to work for everybody. People protect their fiefdoms and all that kind of stuff. But what we help do at Enterprise Architecture and our brethren in Digital Demand is we help promote the successes that we're having. And we put together frameworks and templates like I've shown today that allow them to understand how can they work with us, how can they work with us quickly so we don't, fall into the trap of a bottleneck and you're just going to slow us down. So those are some of the principles, and it really has to do with buy-in, and the buy-in from top down was so important, and that makes our job easier. We still have to fight some battles along the way, but man, in 2 years, you can see how much we've done.
That is amazing. And you mentioned something that seems to be a recurring theme throughout, which is to be a good enterprise architect, you need to be technically sound. To be a great enterprise architect, you need to be able to communicate and influence effectively. And you and Steve and the team clearly have done an incredible job with that. So if I migrate to a more tactical question, you cover this in a lot of different pieces during your presentation, but in this big space with the global operations that you have in the business, is there a way that you can look at the big picture and to identify and prioritize what you're going to work on? And what does that look like from a global perspective? How do you get those ideas prioritized?
Absolutely. So ideas come in from a variety of ways. The main funnel is the businesses, because we have 5 principles: responsibility, quality, mutuality, freedom. Freedom is a big one. It allows our businesses to drive the way that they want to do the business themselves. So they're constantly coming up with solutions and business models that they bring to us, and we help vet. We vet from both communication and strategy, but we also vet from historic portfolio and technology and security viability. And that works together with compliance and legal and all that stuff. So that's one aspect of it. And as I went through quickly, we, the Enterprise Architecture Group, have the opportunity to have all of these projects and ideas come through us. And the top leaders at the very top of the company and the family office, as well as our chief digital officer, always tell our businesses, before you launch anything, before you even are going out signing master license agreements, you come through EA, Enterprise Architecture, because these guys have earned the reputation. They know what they're doing. They'll work with you to make sure. So we have a huge funnel. I touched on it a little bit. The funnel was 450 projects last year, over 1,000 this year. So all of them come in. And then there's these special projects, the 50 that I was showing, digital venture innovations. Now they will eventually go to that EA review funnel, but they tend to get kickstarted a lot more quickly. That's the 100x that we're taking to 1,000x. And we do that because of our track record in having launched projects the last year and a half. So now we're moving on these. We're showing value. We're showing reusability. We're getting emerging markets up to speed quickly. We're getting established markets to take notice and say, hey, I want one of those B to D to C in my business, or I want one of those enterprise chat automations, AI-based, voice-based in my business. So it proliferates on top of each other. So Jose, I hope I'm answering your question for you.
Very much so, Lee, very much so. Such richness in all that you do. We very much appreciate. We're out of time now, but I have to say a couple of things. First of all, congratulations to you, to Steve Sukdil, and the entire team at Mars for really accelerating excellence and innovation for value creation. And then on behalf of our global community who is joining in and listening to you all, we want to thank you so much for sharing this level of expertise and insight, incredible practical and strategic insights to share with us today. We're very grateful for that, and we appreciate you and your time.
Thank you, Jose, Brian, Kanchan. It's truly an honor. Thank you, attendees, for spending your time. I look forward to hopefully connecting with you all. And I'm honored to be here in the presence of great minds that think around value around enterprise architecture. Bye for now. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Lee Bogner, right there, Global E-commerce Enterprise Architect and Innovation Strategist for Mars. Thank you very much, Lee. We're going to wrap up now, and we're going to set up our next session. And in our next session, as you would expect, we're going to bring another great leader of excellence and innovation and enterprise architecture. And I'm talking about Brent Kedzierski, who is the head of learning, strategy, and innovation at Shell. So we're going to wrap up the session now, and at the top of the hour, we'll meet again with Brent and the journey of the intelligent enterprise and next generation operating model in the era of automation with Brent Kedzierski from Shell. So see you back soon.